Welcome to my shop, and today, due to multiple requests, I'm going to give you a workshop tour. I don't make very many videos because I only try and do original content of subjects that I think will help other woodworkers, and I try not to be redundant. A lot of the comments on my videos are about my workshop, and I've been asked several times to make a video tour of my shop, so here goes. So I'm going to start the workshop tour at the table saw because that's the workhorse of any workshop, and it should be centrally located to maximize your in-feed and out-feed capability. My workshop is 360 square feet and it's L-shaped, so I situated mine in the biggest part of my workshop. When I need to rip long stock, I can open the door for more in-feed capability. On the out-feed side, I've got about 9 feet of room, and sometimes that's still not enough, and I have opened that window up when ripping really long pieces. Everything's on mobile bases in my workshop because even no matter what the size of your workshop, you're going to outgrow it, you're going to want more room. So to maximize efficiency, I'll show you throughout my workshop how everything's on wheels. The outfeed table doesn't look that big, and that's the way I like it because I have found that the more horizontal space you have, the more junk it collects. So there's cavity storage underneath my outfeed table, and that's kind of a theme throughout my workshop because I hate when stuff collects on horizontal surfaces. So it's small, but if I need extra rip capacity, I can move it out. This is attached just by little dowel nubbins here. And the saw itself, I bought the smallest rip capacity saw stop that you can get because I wanted it small. I use my track saw a lot. My track saw stores right here, and this table also functions as a track saw table. Using a track saw means you're never going to have to muscle a piece of 4x8 plywood on your table saw. Just put a few sacrificial strips down here, lower the blade, remove the fence. I can easily cross-cut a piece of 4x8 plywood with this setup. Now, with that in mind, I can also break down a whole sheet of plywood. This is expandable. On the other side of the wing too. I can move this around, position these, and basically I can easily break down a 4x8 sheet of plywood with this setup. So with this setup, you've got huge capacity for dealing with large pieces of wood in a small footprint, and that's what I really love about it. And I love the cavity storage. I store power tools down here and accessories for what I call my bonus router. It's called the bonus router because Craig sent me a whole new router lift for free when the jam nut stripped out on here. All I wanted was a jam nut to fix it, so I found a jam nut. I fixed it and installed this router on here. There's a fence stored here, and using the magnets from the mag switch, hold it in place. I built a nice little cabinet for the router for dust collection purposes, and all the tools for use with the router are conveniently located on a magnetic tool holder on the side of the cabinet. So here's a quick tip for you. If you want a repeatable stop for your table saw fence, these things work great. You do need a piece of wood because if you put it here, it sticks to your fence, which is metal. Basically, these things work great if you want a repeatable. Now you can move this around and come right back to it perfectly each time. Alright, so now I'm going to quickly walk you through my standalone power tools. They're situated on the front long wall of my workshop. Each is on a mobile tool base and each has very convenient to use dust collection. I'll start with my belt sander here. It's got very convenient to use dust collection. It's on a mobile tool base that I built myself. It's loosely based on Carl Holmgren's design. I usually don't have to move this tool around very often, but if I do, it's easy to move. This thing weighs a ton. Next to that, I've got my dust collector. It's a jet single stage that I converted to 2-stage using the Super Dust Deputy. I mounted it to the wall to save space because now it's got a really small footprint and it's super easy to empty. I made a separate video on this if you want to check it out. Moving down the line, I got my bandsaw. It's also on a mobile tool base. This is a jet store-bought mobile tool base, and I do have to move this out from the wall when I need it. It's got convenient dust collection and very easy to push back when you're done. Similar mobile base on my joiner. You want to sit your joiner more toward the middle of your shop so you have plenty of room for in-feed and out-feed. Again, easy dust collection. That blast gate is shared with my planer, which is right next to it here. Moving on down, I have my jet spindle sander and my DeWalt 13-inch planer. And I should point out that both my planer and my joiner have been upgraded to the Helix helical cutting head, which I highly recommend. Again, easy dust collection. And this is a homemade mobile tool base, again, based on Carl Holmgren's design. You should really check out his video if you're thinking about making your own mobile tool base, and I highly recommend it. They are much better than what you can buy in the store. And this is, again, situated towards the middle of my shop, so I've got plenty of room for in-feed and out-feed. Attached to my spindle sander is a long hose that I also use for vacuuming up my shop. Reaches every corner of the shop. And this is my main router. This cabinet I designed myself. You'll notice a lot of the stuff in my workshop is made out of walnut. That's because I got a tremendous deal off of Craigslist on a truckload of walnut. It has the Incra LS positioner, which I highly recommend. And again, a mobile tool base. This one I designed myself. You got to swing the router table out in order to use it. Really easy to do. The auxiliary fence that I designed provides in-fence dust collection and also really easy to use. Zero clearance MDF that you can just make new ones when you need them. Convenient dust collection and just tons of storage. And at the end of the day, right back against the wall. Above my spindle sander and router, I've got this ugly metal cabinet. Down here I store accessories for my router fence. I got some sandpaper storage, and then up here I have stuff that I use rarely because it's difficult to get at. I just walked down from my router. This is the far end of my workshop. This is the embarrassing part of my workshop with these ugly cabinets, and this is the place that just collects junk. A few things I will point out, which I do like, is this is a lousy drill press, but it's got great dust collection. Using Lockline. I highly recommend Lockline if you're struggling with dust collection for your drill press. Next to that sits my workbench. I designed and built this about 2 years ago. For years I didn't have a workbench, and now I don't know what I'd do without this. It's got a really easy to use tool base that I designed myself. This thing weighs a ton, but it's still really easy to move around. As you can tell, I'm all about mobile tool bases. Maybe this should be called the Mobile Tool Base Workshop Tour. But anyways, on this side of the bench, I've got the Lie-Nielsen twin screw vise, which is a total pain in the rear to install, but if you can swing it, I highly recommend it. It's just an outstanding vise. On the opposite side here, I have a leg vise. I don't use it nearly as frequently as the twin screw vise, and on that end, I've got another vise that's kind of a piece of junk. But anyways, there's Gramercy hold downs, plenty of hold down capacity on this table, on the surface, but also on the sides as well. Like if you need something like stop if you're planing something, works really well. Sides are flush so you can mount boards to the side as well. And there is cavity storage down here to collect the tools that you're using so they don't accumulate on the top. But I've still found that stuff accumulates on the top. So I recently came up with this concept. I haven't even put a coat of finish on this yet. I haven't started using it. I plan on wheeling this around wherever I'm working in the shop, and hopefully it will accumulate the junk rather than it accumulated on the surface that you're working on. Now we're on the opposite wall from my standalone power tools, and this is my miter saw workstation. This is the focal point of my workshop. It's where I keep all the tools that I use most frequently because they're easy to get at. This got tons of storage. I designed this after doing lots of research on YouTube, Pinterest, and it's really paid off. It's highly functional. At the center of it is the Festool Capex miter saw, which is a great saw, but I bought it because at the time it was the only saw that slid forward like this, allowing it to be mounted very close to the wall, giving you some extra real estate. I wanted this tool to be stationary. I didn't want it on a mobile tool base. On either side, it's flanked by the Craig fence with flip stops, and it's just got tons of storage. Keep my cordless drills here with drill bits. Obviously, I have my chisels out and easy to get at. Down here are my hand planes. Right above it are the sharpening accessories, screws. On either side of the miter saw are these cabinets that I designed with magnetic strips to hold tools that I use often. Here's where I keep my glue. More storage. And as you can see, I use the French cleat storage system up on the wall here, and I still have plenty of room for other stuff. If I find that something's difficult to get at, easy to move around with the French cleat storage system. On this side of the miter saw, underneath, I have cavity storage. And this is where I keep my most commonly used handheld power tools. I think they should be out in the open. First thing you do when you buy a new power tool or a home woodworker and not traveling to job site is get rid of the case. Dust collection for the miter saw is provided by the Festool dust collector down here. It's tool activated and there's a hose that runs up behind here. And it's open back here, so any dust not captured by the dust collection hits the wall and falls down here, and it's easy to vacuum up underneath. The dust collection for these tools is managed also with the Festool dust collector here and this boom setup. I have a separate video on this, but I'll just show you how easy it is to use. When I want to use one of these, the cord is captured in this cover for the hose here. Once connected, all I have to do is unattach the hose to my miter saw, attach it to the boom, and it's ready to go. And this hose reaches pretty much anywhere in my workshop and also works with my track saw over at the table saw as well. So using this is super convenient, and it cuts down on the clutter of having your cords all over the place. No shop is complete without compressed air. And in my shop, I have a swivel retractable hose reel located very centrally. Next to that, I have my brad nailer and pin nailer conveniently located along with all the different size nails. This reaches everywhere in the shop. The compressor itself is located up and out of the way. I've piped it over, and it's stored underneath the stairs here, up and out of the way. Next to that, next to the door of my shop, is my scroll saw. I bought this for my kids to use, which they rarely do, but I've found it's actually a quite useful tool. I use it frequently. I located it here to keep it out of the way, but also because I can use the compressed air for dust control, because this does not have one of those bladder air pumps on it. And this is, again, lock line, just like my drill press, but obviously much smaller. Whatever you do, don't become a hoarder when it comes to keeping your wood cutoffs and extra wood, because it will eventually take over your shop. I do have some storage for wood, but I try and keep it to a minimum. I got some racks above the door here. Got some racks over here on this wall, which is up and out of the way. And I store some cutoffs underneath the stairs. So that's my workshop tour. Hope you like it. I invite any comments. Thanks for watching. I hate those workshop tours where they show you what's in every drawer.